right, well, that is quorum, so I will call us to order. It is 7:32. Our first business would be to open up the floor for any public participation, but seeing no members of the public, we will skip that bit. And we will jump right into our special guest of the evening. Oh, hold on. I might have spoken too soon. I think we have a member of the public joining. Hello, Julie. We had just called the meeting to order. Are you here? Pardon my cat. Are you here for public participation? Julie? Okay, sounds like Julie is here to listen. So hearing no other interest in public participation, we will move on to our special guest of the evening, Tom Mullen, who is the counsel, not to be confused with town councilor, but the counsel as in lawyer for the town. Bet people get that all confused all the time. Has been gracious enough to join us for a few minutes to help us understand a bit more the open meeting requirements and how those relate to us and the stuff we do. I had asked him to join us. I know some other committees have also had challenges around open meeting stuff lately, and I just wanted to, some of us heard about this years ago. Some folks have joined the committee more recently, and with the different subcommittees around and such, I thought it'd be useful for us to, just have an opportunity to hear from Mr. Mullen and ask some questions about this, particularly, and some of the stage I set for Mr. Mullen is that a lot of what we do sort of what I would call logistical in nature. Who's bringing the tablecloth to town day kind of stuff. And, in the interest of not doing all of that such thing in a meeting, and that sometimes it has to happen at other times, I wanted us to just be aware of sort of where the boundaries are, of, what we can communicate about and all of that sort of thing. So with that preamble, Mr. Mullen, if you would please let us know what you think is most important for us to be aware of.
Well, Madam Chair, thank you very much for having me. Can everybody hear me all right? Okay. I want to speak briefly, but practically about the open meeting law, and stop me anytime if you have any questions. The big picture, let's just keep it simple. You have to post notice of every meeting. You have to allow the public to attend, except in executive session, and you have to keep minutes. Now, who does the open meeting law apply to? Well, it applies to any public body, which is any multi-member board, commission, committee, subcommittee. There's an important word for you, subcommittee. Okay. Madam, how many members does your committee have?
The full committee has 10 members altogether.
But you must be authorized to have an odd number.
Sorry, we have 11, but we currently have one vacancy.
Okay, so you're supposed to be an 11-member public body.
That's right.
And that means that for your purposes, 6 would be a quorum.
That's right.
And if you ever have a subcommittee, it has to be smaller than the quorum, that is fewer than 6. And the same open meeting law rules that apply to your full committee would apply to each subcommittee as well. So that if the subcommittee meets or a quorum of it meets, then they have to post notice 48 hours in advance. They have to keep minutes. One question is just what is a meeting? Well, a meeting is any deliberation by a public body with respect to any matter within its jurisdiction. that sort of begs the question, what is deliberation? And it is defined as an oral or written communication through any medium, including email, between or among a quorum of a public body on any public business within its jurisdiction. So if a majority of you were to get together or be on the phone or be in communication by email, even seriatim, one to the other, to the other, to the other, and you start talking about something within your jurisdiction, that's a meeting because it is deliberation. And the Attorney General construes deliberation to include the mere expression of an opinion about a matter within the body's jurisdiction, from one member to enough others to form a quorum. So if you want to call up a friend on the committee to suggest how you think the town should go about dealing with the electrification of vehicles, and that friend communicates with somebody else on the committee who communicates with somebody else. Once you reach the point where a quorum has been involved, because that is a matter that is at least arguably within your jurisdiction, you have deliberated outside of a posted meeting. The only exception here is with respect to scheduling. So if you were going to have a meeting and there was a blizzard, you could get together any way you like, by phone, by email, by text, to discuss when and where to reschedule your meeting. Also, it is not a meeting if a quorum of a public body attends a public or private gathering, including a conference or a training program, or a media or social or other event, as long as the members don't deliberate. So a quorum of you could go to a concert, a rally, whatever, and you could all sit together. You just can't talk about anything within your jurisdiction.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah, please.
So for example, if we're going to be attending Town Day tabling for the ESC, are we okay to talk about ESC business at the table so long as a quorum isn't present?
Yes, so long as there is no quorum present, you can discuss anything within your jurisdiction. I would just caution you that it's important that no member of that discussion, no participant in that discussion, pass along what is said to anybody else in the committee, because again, if you reach the point of a quorum, then you have violated the open meeting law.
That sounds very hard to manage, but from practical standpoint, because you can't control what one person says to another, but I understand the intent.
Well, for that reason, I suggest you just don't talk about matters within your jurisdiction among yourselves, except at a posted meeting. Right. One issue that I think you've got, and let me just jump to it because I think you gave me some examples of questions you have, and they all kind of focus on this, is that your public body, more so than most others, is focused on events. That is, you schedule talks, you schedule events, you schedule meetings, not just for yourself, but for the public. And it's hard to do that without having some discussion among yourselves outside of a posted meeting concerning logistics. And you've got a couple of issues here. One is that I understand that you frequently will designate a subgroup as being responsible for holding an event. And as soon as you vote to make that group of persons responsible, you have created a subcommittee. You don't have to call them a subcommittee. A lot of committees talk about, oh, well, this is a working group, so that doesn't count. There's no such critter as a working group. If you designate individuals and say, these 3 people are going to be doing this, guess what? You've created a subcommittee. And as soon as you do that, that means they cannot communicate with each other. At least a quorum can't, and if it's a group of 3 persons, then no 2 of them can talk, unless it's at a posted meeting. And once they start talking about it, they've got to do it in a place that's accessible, open to the public, and they have to keep minutes. So it's a huge hassle, and it's just not worth doing it if all these people are going to be doing is arranging for tables and some kind and a microphone. So my advice is, do not create subcommittees for events. Instead, you can just designate one of your members. You, Melissa, will be responsible for the event on the 25th. Run with it. And Melissa is then free to enlist the support of whoever she wants, because she is solely responsible for this. And the law provides that while you as a committee cannot create a subcommittee without creating an entity that is itself subject to the open meeting law, if you designate one person to do something, since that one person is not a public body, remember, a public body has to be a multi-member body. Since that one person is perfectly legally entitled to sit alone in his or her house, figuring out how to meet their obligations without the public watching, that person is also entitled to draw upon the expertise or the assistance of any number of other persons, and to do so outside the public view, to do so without the open meeting law applying. And so in my example, if Melissa were told, we're going to have an event on the 25th and it's your responsibility, she could go and recruit any number of people to assist her. And that's not a subcommittee. There is no occasion to post notice, no occasion to hold a, excuse me, to take minutes. Note, however, that you don't want a majority of your committee to serve together, even informally, because then you'd have a quorum talking about something that is relevant to your committee, okay? What do you post? Well, you have to post a list of topics that the chair reasonably anticipates will be discussed at the meeting. And you've got to post it at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. And in our town, posting is done on the town website. And as a practical matter, Steve Mayo has adopted the Mayo rule, which requires that postings go to the town clerk 3 days, not just 2 days in advance. Incidentally, weekends and holidays don't count for purposes of determining this 48 hours. A lot of public bodies have a kind of catch-all category as the last item in their agenda. They'll say new business. Do not say new business. Don't say other things. Okay, the Attorney General really looks askance at that and says that the better practice is be specific about the things that you as the chair reasonably anticipate will be discussed. And if something new comes up, well, if it's an emergency, change the posting as early as you can, even if it means it's less than 48 hours in advance. But the better practice would be, if it's not an emergency, put it on the next agenda. So one thing that happens a lot at meetings is the chair reasonably comes up with, 5 or 6 items that she thinks are going to be discussed. And then some member has a different thought and says, I want to talk about a 7th or 8th item. Well, it's not illegal for that member to bring it up. After all, the agenda is just what the chair reasonably thought would come up, and the chair had no way of knowing this. However, the better practice is for the chair to say to that member, good idea, great topic, we'll put it on the next agenda. Okay? I think I'd rather not go into executive sessions, because I doubt that you'd have occasion to go into executive session. If you are ever
To my knowledge, we haven't and,
Yeah,
and don't.
right. If you're ever tempted to, give me a call and we can talk about it. I'll probably talk you out of it. Now, but you must keep minutes, and there are certain things you've got to put in every set of minutes. You have to identify who is there, that is all the members of your committee that are present, and also who's not. Okay, so it's not enough just to say the following people were present. If someone's absent, you've got to note it. You certainly have to record all votes. And if it's a roll call vote, as it would be if you were doing this online, as we are, where all votes have to be on a roll call, then a roll call simply means that the chair gives the name of each member, and the member says aye or nay, or yes or no. And all in the case of minutes where you have a roll call vote, the minutes have to reflect how each named member voted. And if you're not doing roll call votes, if, for example, you had a live meeting and you didn't have to have roll call votes for that reason, then you could just say the ayes had it, and you don't have to identify how individuals voted. And you need a summary of the discussion on each subject. You don't have to be a stenographer. You don't need a transcript. In fact, it shouldn't be a transcript, but it has to be in sufficient detail so that somebody who hasn't watched the meeting gets some flavor for it. That's awfully vague, but necessarily vague. There was, for example, one case where there was an 1 and 25-minute executive session on contract negotiations, and the minutes for that executive session consisted of 2 sentences. And the Attorney General said, we can't really define what's inadequate, but we know it when we see it. Go back and do it over. Your minutes also need to list all of the documents that were used at the meeting. They just have to be listed. They don't have to be attached to the minutes. But of course, we are all subject to the Public Records Act, meaning that, among other things, we have to retain records for varying periods of time. So the minutes have to identify all of the documents that were used in the meeting, and you've got to make sure that those documents are available for public inspection.
Okay.
And as for the conduct of the meeting, you have to allow anybody who wishes. I'm sorry.
Sorry, can I ask a question about the minutes before we move on from that? For the vote, the vast majority of things that we vote on in this committee are to adjourn at the end of the meeting and to approve the prior meeting's minutes. most meetings, those are the only things that we vote on.
Uh,
Those still require a roll call vote because we're online?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Good to-
Anybody who wishes to attend your meetings, and this really has more to do with in-person meetings, has a right to record the meeting by audio or video. And if that happens, the chair should announce at the beginning that the meeting is being recorded. Since we record all remote meetings, you want to make sure that you make that statement at the beginning of the meeting, which is to say that the meeting is being recorded. And nobody,
Mr. Mullen,
yeah,
I've been in some meetings, not local, but state level, that they actually spend a minute to explain the legislative allowance to have remote meetings. Is that actually a requirement, or is that something they just feel is important for their meetings?
yeah, I don't, it's not required.
Okay.
I wouldn't bother with that.
And do I understand correctly that the town has decided that we'll continue to record meetings even when we go to an in-person or hybrid meeting?
I understand that we are going to continue to record meetings indefinitely, yeah. No one may address the meeting without the chair's permission. Now, if you run into an obstreperous person, somebody who insists on speaking too long or speaking out of turn or making it difficult for others to be heard, I would recommend that you first try to reason with that person, explain to him what he's doing wrong and why. And if that doesn't work, call a brief recess. Generally, people who work themselves into a lather will cool off if you give them 5 minutes. And if that doesn't work, you have the right to call the police and ask the police to remove that individual. That is something you should be extremely careful about. I'd hate to see any of you named in a civil rights action. So if you face the worst possible situation and there are just people who refuse to allow you to conduct a peaceful meeting, I think you probably just want to adjourn and then talk with me about it. And we may end up having to take legal action of our own. Fortunately, I haven't seen anything like that in Wakefield. Never, ever use secret ballots. You can't. You're a public body. The public has a right to know what you're doing. And if there should ever be a complaint about your conduct and your application of the open meeting law, bear in mind that reliance on legal advice is a defense. So when in doubt, call me first. I'll be happy to talk with you. Any questions I can try to answer?
I have one, which is, oh,
Tom,
sorry, go ahead.
John County. I got a question, my friend.
Hey, John.
Are you saying that we have a policy that all meetings have to be Zoom in public?
That
We
all
have to have
what?
all meetings have to be on Zoom?
No, as I understand it, Steve Mayo has decided that we will record all meetings so that anybody who was unable to watch or attend a meeting can later view it on our website.
Okay, that clarifies something for me because I wasn't sure of that because I think I misled some of the direction that I gave the chair and the vice chair. The issue here is the fact that, and I want to clarify this to everybody, in the sense that we have all sorts of discussions at the meeting, but the minutes have to explain what you discussed, but not all of the comments. They don't have to go into elaborate on my opinion versus yours. Am I wrong on that?
The minutes have to give a flavor, at least, of what went on at the meeting. I think a good set of minutes should explain what each speaker said, albeit very briefly.
That extends the whole issue of some pretty long discussions, because the secretary has to decide what's relevant, and I'm not sure who's going to judge what's relevant. So you have 9 opinions. You'll have minutes that are pretty well extended. I thought we could only have to say, listen, this is a subject we just said discuss. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think, John, what you're thinking of is the agenda. The agenda only has to name the subjects that that the chair thinks will be discussed. But the minutes should be more detailed than that. The minutes should, again, give you some idea, albeit abbreviated, of what anybody who spoke said. It's really not enough just to recite the votes and say a general discussion ensued. You know, that doesn't cut it.
Thank you.
I have a question. I think sorry, Stefan, you go ahead. You raised your hand.
My question just is further clarification. You mentioned events. So in the case that we as a body host an event and there's a quorum number of members and that event is related to the things we do, which is what you were describing as being somewhat problematic. And so if we're all at an event doing the thing that is related to the topic that we're all responsible for, how is it possible for us to then host such an event? Because in theory, any discussion at such an event would be not permissible without capturing minutes.
Right, so I'd err on the side of caution in that case and treat it as a meeting. You should post it as a meeting and somebody should keep minutes.
So if the purpose of the event was some sort of public outreach and the number of participants was exceptional, then how do you manage minutes for something like that, especially if it's participatory kind of thing?
Well, the minutes should reflect in abbreviated form what each member said. You don't necessarily have to record what every one of the 500 attendees said.
So then also for the sake of safety, if you will, it sounds like no event should be staffed by a quorum number of individuals which would also prevent it from being a meeting. So if the committee as a whole hosted an event and a sub-quorum was to staff said event, then we would no longer be in a meeting capacity, correct?
That's right, provided that you have avoided the mistake of creating a subcommittee.
Right.
Then if you had less than a quorum staffing the event, you'd be safe.
Okay, and similarly then, if we had an event such that a gathering and again, this is not just for many folks, this isn't a thing you just do, it's a thing you live a bit. Then if we got together, it would technically be in violation because there's essentially no chance in a lifetime that those topics would not arise. Just right. That's
well, what can I say? You can't attend any gathering of a quorum of you where the quorum discusses matters within your jurisdiction. So you avoid the problem either by posting it and taking minutes, treating it as the meeting that it is, or by depriving yourself of a quorum.
okay.
Or by just keeping your mouth shut and not talking about anything within your jurisdiction. But as you say, that kind of defeats the purpose of a lot of the events that you would be interested in hosting, because you host them because they are within your jurisdiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarification.
Mhm.
I just had a question on emails. So if there's an email going around and the people on it is less than 6 people from ESC, are we able to reply all and continue talking over email? It's less than 6.
If the total number is less than the quorum, and that includes the person who's, you know, who is initiating, if is less than a quorum, then technically it's not a deliberation, so it's not a meeting.
Okay.
The reason for the hesitation in my voice is nobody ever does it right. It's human nature. Somebody's going to forward the email to the 7th member, and then you're sunk.
So there was for folks who are not aware, there was a discussion at town council on Monday evening about whether or not our liaisons from other bodies should be voting members. Currently they are. Councillor Carney from the town council is a voting member. Jen from the Gas and Light Commission is a voting member. Kevin from the school committee is a voting member, and Anne, who's a member of the staff of Wakefield, not a public body, so not an elected person, but she's a voting member. Mr. Mullen, if those folks become, or if the elected of them become no longer voting members, do they still count towards quorum, or do we then end up in a smaller number of members of our body?
I recommend that you not have any non-voting members. Just recognize the distinction between members and non-members. And so if somebody is a voting member now and becomes non-voting because of some change in policy, let's just treat him as a non-member. You can treat him as the liaison between the town council and your group, but he's no longer a member. It just needlessly complicates things if we speak of non-voting members.
Though that then makes
Can the, I was just gonna say, wait, is a distinction okay? So we often have had students, so under 18, be non-voting members because as a minor, they can't be voting. So is that a distinction that's clear and not cause issues?
No, see, it's not at all clear. The open meeting
Okay.
law doesn't distinguish among voting and non-voting members. So once you call somebody a member, you've opened a world of difficulties in dealing with them. Why open that up? I recommend you recognize members and non-members. You can invite non-members to your meetings. You can treat them as liaisons, whatever that means. And these aren't legal concepts. You may have seen me being kind of bored at the town council meeting when they were talking about whether liaisons should vote. I don't really care, because I just recognize the distinction between members and non-members, and for sure, if somebody's voting, he's a member.
What of all this, what are the consequences of this? Again, just understanding, what are the outcomes for failure to comply with these things?
Okay, the technical potential penalty is the public body may be fined up to $1,000 by the Attorney General. As a practical matter, you've got to be awfully willful to upset the Attorney General to the point where she'll impose a penalty like that. As a practical matter, what happens is what happened with the planning board recently. There was a complaint about an open meeting law violation. The Division of Open Government of the Attorney General's office invited me to make my argument about why what the planning board did was not illegal. I did my best. Usually that's enough. In this case, it wasn't. The AG determined that the planning board had violated the open meeting law, and the remedy, it's not a penalty. The remedy was that the board had to gather together all of the emails that they had exchanged outside of the public view and post them on the town's website. And that's now been done. So generally the remedy, and that's the way to think about it, the remedy for an innocent violation is either being told publicly by the AG, you did it wrong, don't do it wrong again, or being told by them to do it over and do it right this time, or being asked to publicize on your website, on a website, all of the communications that were made outside of a posted meeting.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I read that it's fine to send things as long as there is not deliberation. So for instance, I read an interesting article. I can send it to the group as long as the group is not going to reply to it. Or any one individual could just reply to me and say, oh, interesting, but not reply to the whole group.
Well, one thing you can definitely do is have the chair, or if you had some professional staff, the staff, send to all members a package, which can be an electronic package, in advance of the meeting. So in advance of the meeting, you might get a dozen articles. These are things we might want to talk about. The problem with inviting every member to send every other member articles or whatever is that there's it's so easy for that to shade off into an expression of opinion about a matter within your jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend that if any member found an article that they wanted to talk about, they should send it to you, Madam Chair, and say, I'd appreciate it if you make this an item on the next agenda. And if you include this article as among the things that you send out to all members in their package in advance of the meeting.
And we have a place on our website where we can also post meeting materials in advance of a meeting. So we could also post it there as a thing we would discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One thing we haven't talked about is public participation. Because I don't have to face election, I always tell public bodies, remember, you never have to do it, public participation at all. And God knows, I don't understand why anybody allows it. But I know that you will. And so I've discharged my duty by giving you my advice. I gave the same advice with equally dismal results to the town council. They go on and listen. But if you are going to listen to the public, there are a few rules to follow. One, you got to treat everybody the same, regardless of how you feel about their message. And that means, among other things, you have to give them the same amount of time. You have to give them the same right to the microphone. You can't silence their mic. And recently, well, within the last couple of years, the Supreme Judicial Court issued a decision where they said, if you're going to allow the members of the public to participate in your meeting in that way, you cannot insist that they be polite or respectful or deferential. They could call you Hitler and you have to sit there and take it. And I'm taking that example right out of the case. That's one of the reasons why I say I don't recommend even going down the road of public participation. Because while most Wakefield residents are, of course, respectful, polite people who take their responsibilities seriously, there's always some idiot. There's always some jerk who's going to make it difficult for everybody. And per the SJC, you have to just sit there and take it.
Is there a distinction then between, so if we have liaisons or volunteers, we have, you know, if there's a volunteer who's helping with an event and we say, oh, please come to the next meeting to explain how that event is going to go. If we're inviting them to speak, we can treat them differently than we would treat a public participant because I have asked them to participate. Like, for instance, I'm asking you to participate here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You can invite anybody to come and speak and engage in a dialogue with you. That's very different than public participation, which is you let any individual who wishes come up and say pretty much anything he wants.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you.
Stefan, did you have another question?
Yeah, so the statement about the public participation, is that fully optional for, like, so if we don't put public participation on the agenda from a week-to-week basis, we are not under any obligation to ask for public participation?
Well, you never have any obligation to allow public participation unless you are holding what's called a public hearing. A public hearing occurs when there's a statute or a bylaw that requires a public body to solicit the opinions of the public. Think, for example, of the Zoning Board of Appeals. They have to send notice to all abutters. And anybody who shows up, not just abutters, but anybody who shows up has a right to be heard on the subject. But you don't do that. You don't have any obligation to hold public hearings ever. So it really doesn't apply to you.
So I mean, prior to you speaking tonight, we called for public participation. That's purely, I guess, it's unnecessary. It's not something we're obligated for in any way at this time.
That's right. It's purely voluntary, and every municipal lawyer in Massachusetts would tell you you're crazy to allow it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
On the notion of subcommittees, so sounds like they aren't doing us any favors in the way we have things structured.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that we actually voted to create them. I think we just said, oh, well, we're, 3 people who care about this thing. You're 3 people who care about that thing. Subcommittees. So do we have to vote to disband them? Can we just declare them done and we will operate in a different manner?
So I would recommend keeping things as simple as possible. So if there is any paper record of a subcommittee existing, let's undo it.
Fair enough.
And with a vote to disband the subcommittee, unless you really need it. But I don't know why you would. Again, if you're doing something that involves logistics, I think it makes sense for you to say to one individual member, why don't you go run with this? This is your responsibility now. And handle it any way you want.
Yeah. But given what you said about putting things on the agenda, if we reasonably expect them to be discussed, we would put that note, we would put that as an item to discuss
Yes.
next month.
Right.
or
the
next meeting.
Possible disbanding of subcommittees, right?
Roger that. Other questions? This has been exceptionally informative. And I appreciate very much you spending the time with us to untangle these things and clarify them, particularly to the type of body that we are and the types of things that we do, since that is different from how planning board, zoning board of appeals, other bodies operate. So thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us tonight.
Well, thank you for the invitation and thank you for your volunteer efforts. I appreciate it as a citizen, and I'm happy to serve you as your lawyer.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stefan, your hand is still raised. I don't know.
Sorry, I clicked it right as Tiana asked me if my hand was raised, and then I never took, anyway, it's down.
Thank you.
Tiana's John County. How many members are present at this meeting? For some reason, I'm not seeing everybody on my screen here.
We currently have 9 present.
All right, so everybody's present.
No, we're a body of 11.
Okay,
So
Well, with one
Kevin,
vacancy,
yeah, so Kevin is absent and then we have the vacancy. So that's how we get 9. The
I would have liked, I would respectfully like to address the committee.
please, thank you. Go for it.
This is new to me. You know, I have more experience in serving this town than most people. When I first met Tom Mullins, it was in high school. And I was on the committee that appointed Steve Bayo, the town administrator. And this experience recently was kind of surprised me. When the chairman of the town council asked me which committees I wanted to serve on, I told him which committees I did want to serve on. And he appointed me to this committee, which was fine. I walk in here just brand new. And I had a meeting. I went to one meeting and then a meeting with Tiana and Melissa. And I was trying to get a feel for what was going on. I think was totally honest. But then I found out that Melissa asked for a meeting with the town council, and I knew nothing about it, and you knew nothing about it. So I was kind of caught off guard. And then I found out that the chairman of the town council responded to you, and I never got a copy of it. And then all of a sudden, all of these things kind of evolved, and we had that meeting. So I just want to let you know that whatever I've said to you is what I've said to you, and what happened at the town council meeting, I had nothing to do with. This was something that everybody else created. I have no idea. Some past feelings about how this whole process happened, and especially the fact that there was a projection there of eliminating members of actually taking myself off of this committee. I had nothing to do with that. I had no knowledge of it. So I'm mad. I'm angry that my own town council is not even telling me what's going on. And I don't want you to think that I was not sincere when I sat down and talked to you. I was totally sincere. And all of a sudden these things are happening. And all of a sudden every single town meeting, every town council members kind of, I was embarrassed by what happened the other night. I apologize. But how could I apologize? I wasn't even part of it. I'm sitting there saying, I'm your representative. Should you have not at least advised me you're going to ask for the town council to come to tonight's meeting? So I don't know what my job is. And so I don't want any part of this. I really don't. Okay, because I feel the fact my own town council members are not telling me everything that they know. I know the chairman is, but all of a sudden that people are submitting this stuff. This all started going back when they first created this whole process, and people are mad about it. I had no idea. I wasn't part of that. So now all of a sudden they're saying, "Oh, what am I doing?" And then I look at the agenda. The reason I'm here tonight is I found Tom Mullins on the agenda. What's the job of being what's my job as being the liaison? So you guys figure that out and I'll figure it out. I was sincere and honest about how I was going to approach you. I tried to, sit down and work with you guys. But this bothers me that everybody's going off on tangents. And I told the chairman that too, my chairman of the town council. What's going on here? I wasn't aware of any of this stuff going on. I wasn't aware of anything that was said at that town except what you knew of, Tiana and Melissa knew. I let you know everything, but everybody's doing things stuff behind my back. So you guys figure out what you want me to do, okay? And I'll help, okay? But I'm not going to be sitting here being a puppet on this political, strategies of all these people going on and people going off and doing their own thing, even on my own town council. And I wanted to do this tonight because I wanted this on record. So if anybody says what you say, I'll look at this meeting. I said it publicly. I'm an honest person. I say everything publicly. I think this is a bunch of, I don't want to elaborate on what I think it is, okay? But I don't like it. I think we should work together. We should try to make things happen. I was sincere at the meeting, even though I was bold, the fact that you guys had, well, not you, Tiana, but I felt like, Melissa had gone around me. And, that's not right. I felt insulted. I'm sitting there, I'm being honest. And people are treating me like I'm not being honest. So I want everybody to know I've been 100% honest. And if not, call me. You ask anybody on the town council to watch this meeting and tell them, ask them if I'm not being honest. Because that's something I pride myself in. And I was insulted by how this whole thing went down. So you appoint me the liaison, not my own chairman, and other members of my council aren't even telling me what's going on. And you guys are being 100% honest, not collectively, but individually. So I just want to let you know, this is not the way to run things. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I just want to say, I think the piece of asking to be on the town council agenda was unfortunately blown a little out of proportion by the town council chair. I'll say that publicly. We were simply looking to know whether there was a time, anytime this fall, to talk to town council, knowing that sometimes it takes a while to get on the agenda. But I acknowledge that it would have been better form to go through you or at least include you in that request so you were aware. For having Tom Mullen here, that was a suggestion by a member to bring him, given the planning board situation, and that having him come to the meeting to educate us would be helpful for the whole committee. You probably already knew everything that he was saying because of your role on town council, but for many of us who have not been on these bodies for as long, it was helpful to understand, given the amount of scrutiny on all the things that we do these days. So, but I'm sorry that you were feeling that you were not being treated appropriately.
I also want you guys to know, and I want you to discuss it amongst yourself. Okay, I just want to help. I don't take these things personally. There's issues. In fact, is Melissa there? Is Melissa here?
Yes.
Melissa, I want to let you know that I've looked at the fleet, and we got some issues with making the fleet electronic. Okay, to go that route. But what I want to suggest to you, and I'd be glad to help, best candidates in the town of Wakefield, to be honest with you, have the biggest impact is buses. Any buses that the school department have are the greatest candidate to electrify. And the reason I say that is fact, they have a duty cycle that accepts it. They're not expected to go out in the middle of a snowstorm. They're not expected to go out. They're expected to do certain things. And that's my expertise. I know bus maintenance. I understand electric buses. I'd be glad to work with you guys.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I just want to say that the email to Chairman McLean was strictly to schedule an upcoming, an upcoming discussion at town council meeting in the coming months, and it was just a scheduling email. It was nothing else. And I apologize for not CCing you on the email, but that's all it was.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm glad to, I'm honestly, I appreciate meeting with you and I want to work there.
Robin? You're muted.
I guess I don't fully know what happened, although I guess I'm starting to piece it together, and I only super distantly happened to see their agenda on Monday after the fact and saw we were listed. So just so I understand correctly, there was a request to be on the agenda and they immediately gave us the opportunity. The request to be on the agenda's topic was the fleet of electrification. Is that correct? Although I saw on the agenda 2 topics. So was the second topic under us about subcommittee something that they elected to have a discussion, or was that part? Okay, so I
Yes,
just wanted to
so,
make sure.
and actually, I think that's part of what Mr. Carney was mentioning, which is unbeknownst to us, there was some question about whether elected members, elected officials should be voting members of a standing committee. It seems that other committees have elected officials only in a liaison capacity or on a temporary committee. So it was pointed out that ESC was unusual in having 3 elected officials as voting members of the committee, and questioned whether that should continue to be the case.
But Tiana, Tiana?
Yeah.
The only time I knew that, okay, I looked, I have to be honest with you, I looked at the agenda material and I said, why? I honestly, I was blaming on you. I'm
Oh,
saying,
no, it was not.
oh, no, I'm sitting there saying, there's a PowerPoint presentation eliminating me from being voting member, which I had not discussed with anybody. Nobody gave me the courtesy of that discussion at all. So read into that, okay? And say, where'd this come from? So I said, who brought this up? I have no idea. And although I have to be honest with you, I don't think it's a bad idea, but I'm sitting there saying, but why did it come up? And that was all Bob. Bob, went off on his own, didn't tell me, no courtesy to me, just went off and put this PowerPoint presentation on, and they put it on the agenda. That's not right. Okay, so I'll deal with my colleagues on the council on this, but if they want to play that game, I can play it better than they can. The bottom line is, let's be courteous. Let's tell people where they're coming from. So Bob came up with that issue. And quite frankly, I said it's not a bad idea, because part of the discussion I had with you and Melissa was, if I don't show up at your meetings, how are we going to do a quorum? So I didn't want you to think that came from me.
Right, and I'm sorry if you thought it came from us, because it sure didn't come from us, and they didn't tell us that it was going to be a topic until the agenda was posted, and then the meeting materials were posted. So the night before, I was able to see that that was what those slides were about.
I found it the same way, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, because any one of my town council members want to look at it, I'll refer them to this. The other issue is the whole issue, and I think I misspoke, because I will talk to the town administrator in regards to, I believe Tom Mullins suggested that he thought that Steve Mayo had made this dictate that all of these meetings have to be on video. I think that's the wrong decision. I think we ran government a lot better without that. I think, and again, I kind of touched on this with you at the meeting with you and Melissa. I think it's fine for you, and again, it changes everything. So you might have to leave your house and you might have to go to a meeting place to have a legal meeting. But I think it's more sane in the sense that having people, join in. Short of that, when I ran the town charter commission in 2017-18, I didn't allow any public input. Okay, and so back then it wasn't, it was people tried to, but you didn't allow it. So this is where you get in those discussions that kind of, you have advocates in town who want to aggravate and get things that if they disagree with you, want to come to all your meetings. So I don't think that that's a bad thing to do, but I'm not sure that it's necessary that all of these meetings be public like this. And because when you do it, it gives me the opportunity, like giving me the opportunity tonight, I'm going on record. But I don't think you have to. I think you are honest people striving to do something. You should be able to discuss in a forum amongst yourself with the public forum. People could show up. How many people are going to come out of the house and show up that night? But that's fine. They can show up there. But you can also have the rule that they can't participate publicly, and you guys can discuss anything you want. You just have, and in all fairness, and I don't disagree with I think Tom Mullins is one of the great town lawyers we could ever have. But you just need a general discussion of what you discuss, because no way you could have 20 people's 10 different statements, and the secretary would have to be a genius to be able to consolidate that in one thing. So that's my opinion. I just want to leave you guys with that. I'm willing to help what those who weren't with Melissa and I, and yeah, we discussed the fact I might not be able to go to my meetings. There's so many different meetings you have to go to attend to things. But I do want you guys to consider the issue of non-voting members, because I think that's important. I don't want to in any way affect the fact that you guys don't have a quorum.
Sure. Appreciate that. To be honest, it wasn't clear to me from the town council meeting that it's up to us. Whether folks like you as an elected official are a voting member or not.
I'll take care of that.
Sounds good.
If you guys, and let me say, I think if you guys think that that's good, like I think it's good, then I'll take care of that. Meaning that have only the citizens be the voting members. If you guys, you have to tell me what you want to do on that, and I'll carry the ball on that.
I think there are pros and cons of both approaches. If we lose several voting members, or folks become liaisons and no longer thus a member, it makes much smaller the number that we need to hit quorum for
Absolutely.
good and for bad, right? So for good, we can have a meeting and vote on something with only, however many of us present. But also then if 4 of us show up at Porch Fest and talk about whether or not there's somewhere to recycle our soda cans, our, now quorum is much smaller. So for the purposes of.
Let me say this, and I'll say this in public in front of Tom Mullins someday. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
If I met you guys, I met 4 guys in the street and said, hey, the weather's nice today. I violated the open meeting law. So that's an exaggeration. It's you have to have the intent. In other words, you have to be saying what the planning board did. You can see the intent.
Sure.
Okay. That's okay. That's the issue. And I think Tom is a lawyer. So basically he's telling you, he's giving you the bottom line was, he said, well, would the attorney general go after you? No, because 4 of us got together and said, we're going to have a meeting Tuesday. We have a majority here. We're going to talk about the web. Okay. That's not a violation. That's not the intent is the issue here. When you're talking about something that's going to affect the whole community, that's the issue, Piano.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Thank you. Robin, go ahead. You had your hand up.
I was just gonna say, in terms of our membership, we do not control our membership. When the committee was formed, there were 4 public members and 3 reps liaisons. That is how the town council formed us. When we, in discussion, thought we would benefit from some more folks because we had a lot of ideas and wanted to have more people participate, we made a suggestion through our liaison for them to change the body of our group in size. And so it is through town council that they allowed us to increase in size. And then actually appointments are through the town council. So they do get to control who and how we're organized as it's set up. And I agree, if we go smaller, then I think the topics we have, our voting is limited to often closing and meeting minutes. So you can close without a quorum, you can't approve meeting minutes without a quorum, but it's rare that we aren't able to do that, John. So when you and others aren't able to attend, our ability to have discussions hasn't been held up, I should say. So don't feel that your capacity to join us should be a reason why you're not able to participate in votes. And the same for any of our other representatives. And, you know, DPW is a great example that Joe and Ann kind of share the duties. You know, we used to, and so, you know, and proxies for Joe officially, I guess is how it's put, but, you know, who's to say the town council doesn't do that also if you felt that you wanted someone else as a proxy, as in if that's allowed. So we enjoy all of you guys participating and giving us different sides of the topic. So
Look, Joe and Ian are two of our biggest assets.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, we all agree, right? Okay, so you know, I'm not going to tell Ian not to do anything, okay? But I'm not sure it's that legal when Ian's there voting for Joe. So I don't know how that works. Okay, now let me say, you know, what I love about town of Wakefield is we have all sorts of volunteer committees, and they do their job and they go out there and work. Okay, I don't have the enthusiasm you guys have to do what you're doing, and I love that you're doing it. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everything you do, but I mean I appreciate what the fact you're doing, and the fact that, you know, we're going to support you any way we can. So I don't think that's the issue. I think the biggest issue was the quorum issue. Although I obviously, if you saw that meeting of the town council, I'm not sure I speak for the whole town council. I was confused myself on where they were coming from. But the bottom line is, I'm telling you where I'm coming from.
Appreciate it. To round out this topic of the town council meeting, one thing I wanted to share with the group, I guess at some point in the past couple of years as a body, we had voted on some new language of a mission statement and some clarification about what we do and things of that nature. The town council pointed out that it was not our business to be doing that, that they give us the mission at forming. So that document about our mission and what we do was removed from our website and is considered null and void. I believe should we want to change our mission statement from the one that we were founded with, we could bring that to the town council if we wanted to, perhaps through John. At this current moment, that doesn't feel like a pressing item of business to me. So I would say, let's move on. But if anyone reads the mission and feels strongly and wants to ask that it be a topic on a future agenda, you just let me know.
In response to, from a town council, your liaison standpoint, I honestly didn't read either one before that meeting. So, you know, Councilor Dabrowski brought that up, kind of caught me by surprise. I'm saying, well, I better read this, right? You know, I think the issue here is the fact that, according to the chair, they, in their mind, had settled on working on buildings first and then doing it step by step. And so they want to kind of gradually, you know, work into this. And so you guys think about that, look at it, and maybe we can talk about it at a future meeting. I don't know what that really means because you guys understand it better than I do, to be honest with you. So, you know, what I think we ought to be doing is looking at this step by step. If you eliminate what you have to do by on your well, town council, the town council advised you to do at your next meeting is eliminate subcommittees. Then you just have a person who is responsible to, who cares how many people are working with them, to report to you on special issues at each meeting. And you know, a subcommittee of one, and then you kind of develop where you're going from. What I initially have thought by watching some of your subcommittee meetings and your meetings is, you know, you're really biting off a lot. So just my own opinion, you know, target what's important, target where you can look at those things you can achieve. Don't take on the world. Look at those. I've never seen anything win by a landslide. You got to look at and bite off at things. I'm going to do some research on electric buses. Well, I know electric buses, but I think there's a market out there for electric school buses. That might be a big win for you guys. The fact that you don't like it.
I would love that.
Okay, yeah.
If
I mean,
my kid can be on an electric school bus before he's in middle school, that would be,
duty cycle wise,
let's work on that.
it's the first electric buses to Northeast.
But let's not make a subcommittee about it.
No.
You're empowered, John, to start the
All right.
research on that and report back to us, and
And
then we will see what we can
work-
do.
I'll work with Alyssa on that. I'll get some information because I know all the companies, and you know, maybe we can get a grant to get, you know, bring the first one into the town of Wakefield as an example. It's a perfect way of doing it. It's electric buses are parked in the school, that there's not a fire issue or nothing. I love it. It's just great. So I'm happy about working with you guys. That's all I want to say.
Sounds good. Well, we're happy to
I've
have
said
you.
too much already.
At an hour and 15 into the meeting, I'm going to rein us back into our agenda. And we're going to do really abbreviated, we can tackle approving the minutes from last meeting. We're going to do very abbreviated subcommittee updates and liaison updates, so that we can all go to bed eventually. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion about approving the minutes?
I motion the approval of the August meeting minutes.
Second.
John?
I'm not sure. I was at that last. I think I missed the last meeting. Sorry.
You can abstain if you'd like.
I'll abstain.
Robin?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Stefan?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Lily?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Minutes approved. Thank you. Subcommittee updates. Make them your last ones if we're gonna perhaps disband subcommittees. Good golly. Waste reduction?
Sure, I can give a quick update. So we are supporting the start of composting and food rescue as we're back to school. We have volunteers in the schools this week helping the kids get reacquainted with some of those programs. We're also trying to rekindle the conversation about recycling in multi-unit buildings. We had a citizen bring that up a few meetings ago, and we're trying to contact, town planners and get some feedback on how we might move that forward. We also talked about some activities for the rest of the year, candy wrapper recycling for Halloween, the pumpkin composting, possibly getting another battery box since that was very well received at the recycling day, possibly styrofoam recycling. We had a request or two for that at the swap day. And then also talking about what other swaps we might do in the future since the sports equipment swap was very well received as well. So maybe another one of those next year, or maybe some other item. So just those kind of conversations.
Fantastic.
Speaking of the compost for pumpkins and the candy wrappers, in the education subcommittee, we did kind of look at a calendar, and I wanted to throw it out to the group because parent teacher conferences aren't right after Halloween this year. They redid the schedule if we read it correctly. So we didn't see an opportunity to piggyback on that. So if any parents are telling me I'm saying it wrong, then we'll shout. But we were wondering if maybe still November 6th was a day we could do a collection. And I know you've been the one point of contact for Black Earth. If you would see if that's a potential. And then if people had thoughts on what hours would work better, because we don't have the parent teacher conferences. Do we keep the same hours just because that's when we were successful to be able to find volunteers and it worked for Black Earth based on their other obligations or not? But, so feedback is being requested.
Did you do that? They were on half days last year is what you're saying.
Exactly. We waited
Yeah.
until after the half day and parents started coming back with their kids and so forth. And then, it being a half day allowed parents to do the pumpkins either in the morning or if
Yeah.
they forgot. So,
I know at least Walton moved their half days to Fridays this year. I don't know if that's district wide, but all of our half days are on Fridays now.
oh, you have weekly half days?
No, not weekly, but when they occur, they're not on
Oh.
Wednesdays anymore. They're going to be on Fridays. I have the calendar downstairs that I can share with you when the half days are, but I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it was, at least it was elementary wide. I don't know that it was
Elementary wide. Okay.
at least again, but because Greenwood is on the same, they changed this year.
Mhm.
I believe that is district-wide. Because I believe the high school is in the same boat.
I would think it'd be fine to do it on not a half day and just pick a good day a weekish after Halloween, like a day that is otherwise good for some of us to toss pumpkins, and is good for Black Earth, I think.
Does it make sense to do just like a town-wide collection, not at the schools?
Mm.
So we can get more participation. I don't know if Black Earth is, they could do something on the weekends.
Yeah, we can.
It just increases the cost, and sometimes they can't just due to the number of people they have. But I actually have a meeting with them next week, and I can certainly ask them,
Okay.
how it works, because we did want to add the Doyle this year if we could. So that was on my list. So I can certainly ask them what's the price difference. Is there? I mean, I do like the idea of the kids being involved. So if we could do it on a Friday half day, I think that's cool. But totally up to you guys.
I wonder if we did do one central location, one Saturday location, does that offset the 5 stops weekday? Because I imagine you are paying per stops. I mean, it was a little fun to encourage a little competition amongst the schools on quantity of pumpkins, although that's not to say if we didn't do a central location that we don't have different tarp per school, so you would still measure the pumpkin pile size or something. I don't know.
My thought was maybe we could send a truck there and then we drive it up to their location to save them from sending someone.
And do you know how messy it is?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what your trucks is.
We're a messy group anyway, so that would be all right. So yeah, I had thought of that and asking them if we could do a drop off there, if that was potentially okay with them, and see what they say. So just a thought.
Sounds good. So it sounds like Anne, you'll explore it with Black Earth and then get back to us with some options at the next meeting.
Yes, I
The next
definitely
meeting
will
to
email
late?
or
no, that
others. Yes.
if you bring information to us next meeting, that probably isn't too late to get something on the books for early November.
I can send you an email and then we could go from there.
Sounds good. Anything else from waste reduction? Okay. Community engagement and outreach. Speaking of Black Earth Compost, we're going on our field trip to Black Earth Compost on Monday, the 16th, to arrive there about 6 p.m. If anyone on this group is planning to go, let me know, particularly if you were looking to carpool or be part of a carpool. I'm hoping to send out some carpooling information realistically tomorrow or Saturday, but it should be a fun time. Please wear closed-toed shoes. It's gonna be great. You should go if you weren't planning to. We're also tabling a town day, which is on Saturday the 21st, 1 to 4 in the afternoon. I believe Jen, Robin, and I will be at the table, and Christina will come by from time to time. Robin and Jen, were either of you possibly going to drive there, and could you drive like with our kit of stuff? Because we are going to have the some rented games, some sustainability related games from Mass Energize to play at the event. And I will not have my car. I can walk to it, but probably not carrying wooden table
Do they
games.
fit in a
Oh,
whole,
in the
my
wagon?
cart thing?
I don't
It's just
know.
one, I mean, it's just one bag of, like, one shopping
No, no, no.
bag.
Oh, no, we have something special, Melissa.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, we have
Special
special
and
meetings.
heavier than that bag.
I mean, I have a larger car and I can definitely drive it over.
All right, yeah, I wouldn't be driving, so.
No
Okay.
problem.
Jen, I'll coordinate with you for a drop off of the stuff if necessary. And who has the bag with the tablecloth?
Lily
I have a
does.
bag of
Well,
stuff.
You have the
Yeah.
bag of stuff.
Mhm.
If you wouldn't mind dropping that off, probably easier
problem.
to drop it off to me and then I'll coordinate it getting to.
Yep.
Jen. Thank
Not
you.
a problem.
Do you want the styrofoam box and the cardboard sign thing?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I have that.
You have that.
Yeah.
Everything is everywhere. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind dropping that either to me or consolidate it with Lily, that would be great. One of the things that I definitely want to promote at Town Day is that we have a vacant spot on the committee. So also, if you know anyone who wants to join the committee, let them know. But I'll make a little flyer or something for folks to join if they're real excited about us. We will also be a stop on the scavenger hunt. There's going to be a scavenger hunt at Town Day. So folks participating in the scavenger hunt will get a clue to send them to our table and to maybe have to perform a challenge. So it's going to be a whole thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's Town Day. We also have the electric vehicle showcase coming up on Sunday, October 6th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the town hall parking lot. As of right now, I think we have 10 personal vehicles signed up. Good variety, not all Teslas this time. Good variety of vehicles. Plus we have the 3 from Gas and Light and the police department's parking car. So we'll have a good set of vehicles. If you have a vehicle that you would like to bring, please sign up. I think I've sent the link around to the announcement email list. And if you know anyone with an EV, please suggest that they sign up and attend. It's going to be super fun. Spread the word, join the Facebook event. If anyone is feeling so inclined as to like write a letter in the item about how much fun the EV showcase is going to be, I would sure love a volunteer to take that on. I'll look at each of your faces.
Sorry,
I think
can
I
you,
said I was gonna reach out to Myra if she wanted to do it, so let me, thank you for the reminder. Unless Jen just volunteered, I don't know.
I just wanted to hear the request again. I'm sorry.
To put something in the item, like I put it in the items like calendar notice thing, but to actually like write a little letter or article or whatever for the item about how great the EV showcase was last year and how cool it's going to be this year and, you know, promoting it. Ideally, how excited you are to bring your vehicle to it or shop for a vehicle there.
I mean, I'm happy to write something up, or if you want Myra to do it, that's fine too.
Well, she hasn't committed yet, so
Jen,
you're a good deal, it's on deal.
Jen,
All
it's
right.
all yours. Thank you.
Sounds
very much.
good. I mean, I did attend last year, so I have the firsthand experience.
Fantastic.
And I have my EV, so.
Fantastic. Are you showcasing your EV?
No, because my EV is 7 years old and nobody thinks it's that exciting anymore. It's much newer
You're
cars.
welcome. You're welcome to bring it either way.
I literally just submitted my form, so I'll show my car.
There you go.
Wonderful.
Jen,
But
yours is vintage though.
I'm
Maybe
looking
people
for, it
appreciate
is vintage. Yeah, I'm looking for a new one. So I'll be there, yeah, for round 2, next generation.
perfect. There's a Cybertruck signed up. It's going to be pretty interesting.
You're gonna let them go? Sorry.
All right, other couple events, we already talked about the pumpkin smash, and then we're considering having, in the spirit of Halloween, an educational event about bats. Come to the library, could be fun. It has a cost associated. Robin, do you remember how much that is?
Well, it depends. So it was 125 to 250, I think, depending on the duration. So on the agenda, you had a budget line item. So do you want to table that until we get into the budget, or do you want to talk about it?
I was frankly gonna table the budget discussion entirely to next meeting, given. the
Oh,
late
if that was
hour.
meant to be something different, then
It was,
okay.
well, it was gonna be partly that of like, is that the sort of thing that's, we like to spend money on, given that we have total of 2,000 for the year. We've spent almost nothing so far. Are people excited? Are people, neighborhood of $200 excited about bats?
Stefan, this is your opportunity to speak up. What are you wearing today?
It's a Spider-Man shirt. It's not the same. I mean, I guess first of all, I do want to attend actually and help with the event, but do we already have a like
So I reached out to the zoo
Yeah.
and they would be able to put on the program. They would not be able to bring a bat, but they would be able to speak on the value of bats on our environment and teach people a little bit about them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not taking my bat box down, but I think this is actually very much a topic I'd like to participate in. So, so you're just looking for a volunteer? I'm sorry, I was trying to find if there was an event posted already on Facebook while you were talking.
I was looking to gauge enthusiasm about bats. Many of the events we put on are for basically free. So I want to just make sure that people were excited enough about bats that we should spend a bit of our budget on it. I think bats are great.
I think the topic is interesting. I think I have talked about this with other folks in the town and people do find it interesting, but is it 200 people? I don't know.
Oh, no, $200 from our budget.
Oh, sorry,
We
$200.
can't, don't have capacity for 200 people.
Okay. I mean, yeah, 200. I think you'll get, I mean, if even you get 10 people, 15 people who are interested in the topic and can, especially if we can get some discussion and demonstration of what a bat box is, how simple they are and things like that, I think we could generate interest, just from that. I don't think you're going to find like hundreds of people that are interested, just for what's worth. Bats are still scary to people, so in general.
We actually had a thought to do a subsequent event that would be like a build a bat box workshop. So
Yeah.
we may do that as sort of a twofer over the course of the fall winter.
Okay.
Okay, well, sounds good. Let's move forward on bats. I think that's it for community engagement. See some of you at Town Day. Climate action plan, Melissa.
So at our last meeting, we talked about the zero emission vehicle policy, which we are only doing research on, nothing more. And also talking to some stakeholders. And I did meet with the chief of police just to discuss what his thoughts were about the policy. Also the fact that he is buying the first police certified EV, which should be arriving in the coming months. I would just wanted to say that in light of the discussion at town council, I think it's best that the DPW leads the effort on this policy and that ESC just supports the DPW. So that I think is what we're going to do moving forward. If anybody has objections, let me know. And then we also discussed the climate action plan. We have a draft going and we're going to add some metrics to the actions. That's it.
Thank you. How about green space? Stefan?
No update.
Sorry?
No update.
Oh, no, thank you. And green business, Christina.
We don't have many new updates either. We've been working on creating content for outreach for the Green Business Pilot Program. We are also going to be trying to connect with business owners at Town Day, which is upcoming in a couple weeks. So we're looking forward to connecting there and directing them to the content that we've sort of been creating over the past month.
So I sent that to Jen McDonald to get onto our website, but it's not there yet.
All right, sounds good.
There was a question of, well, fortunately, John is not. John, can you hear us? John, just for your awareness, we for the Green Business Subcommittee, we had asked to put some content up on our website about the potential green business pilot program. Jen McDonald in the town posed the question, I think, to Steve of whether we need to run that by the town council first, or by Steve or by anyone else. We've spoken with Aaron Kokinda about it. But in case that ends up going before the town council, we were hoping to pilot helping businesses with ways that they could go green. And I don't think we have heard back yet on whether that's something the town council would need to weigh in on or not.
Could you send me whatever the material you sent this evening? That way I can discuss it with them.
Christina, would you mind sending that to John, please?
Sure.
Thank you. All right, that's it for subcommittees. How about updates from our favorite liaisons? We do not have a member of the school committee here today, nor do we have any students yet because school only just started. So, and DPW.
So we had the solar, we put out a solar bid for the middle school for an array on the roof. There was a mandatory walkthrough on Tuesday, and we got 2 bidders to come. So both seem very confident. So they have now submitted, I think there was 7 questions that I'll answer over the next couple days. The Light Department, Dave, has been awesome on helping me answer some of the questions. The deadline for bids is the 26th September, and we hope to have a bidder selected and ready to go around the 11th of October, and then it would go to town meeting. So some of the funding for this is coming from ARPA funds, which have to be spent by the end of the year. You don't have to spend them, but you have to have a contract in place. So we're working fast on this one. So I will keep you posted on that. Second,
Sorry, question for you on that. So what about it goes to town meeting?
I believe it's trying to go to town meeting for the ARPA funds that they'll be, I believe that, but I'll follow up with Steve on that and find out what town meeting has to do with it. Yes.
Okay, because that sounds like something that as a committee we might discuss at next meeting, making some sort of statement about how much we like solar.
Sure.
Should it be a topic to entertain? So
yeah, I'll find out the details and I'll let you know.
Great.
I talked to the decarbonization roadmap people today. They hope within the next 3 weeks they will finish up all the municipal buildings, which means they'll have completed the schools and they need to do the municipal buildings. The only one I have to really worry about is the police, for letting us, when we can get in there and having someone with them. Otherwise, we'll do all the other buildings. And then I've asked them if they could give me a timeline, which they haven't done yet, but I'm curious as to when we'll get our report, our roadmap. I'm hoping fairly quickly after that, but we will see. And then my last good news is that we hit 430 participants with Black Earth, which we've been sputtering around like 411, 415, but 430 was awesome. So let's hope that continues. We have seen recently an increase. So we probably had 5 or 6 new people sign up in September, which is awesome. Usually it's a spring thing where they sign up in the spring, but we're getting fall ones, which is great. And that's about
Black Earth did tell us there's some way to get schools, like there's some school program now that many of the schools are composting, where schools can like get some sort of little prize or something from Black Earth.
They can get a kickback, so they
Okay,
can
from
actually get
referral.
money. Yeah, for referral. And I did try to send that information to the superintendent last spring, but I didn't get any replies, so. That's something we want to try to do again. I don't know, we can go a different route.
We'll certainly promote it at Town Day. All right, cool. Thank you, Anne. Good stuff. Sean, any other updates from the town council?
Sorry, and because I couldn't hit the, it's heading towards the end of the fall. What's the winter plan with the cardboard boxes? The very successful collection of cardboard boxes.
So the cardboard will stay there till the last day that the pit's open, which is usually the second week of December, even though we advertise the first week of December, because luckily the weather has been great and it's stayed open longer. Definitely planning on having it there for the holidays. Last year, it stayed throughout January at Town Hall.
Okay, so you will have one at the town hall after the pit closes?
Well,
If,
I can only
with snow
promise-
pending?
Currently, I can only promise you that holiday that we do it, you know, the week between Christmas and like the 15th of January. But last year we were able to keep it there till the end of January into February. So there's a whole parking issue and taking up spaces and traffic in the parking lot at Town Hall. But it seems like a great place because we can keep our eye on it and make sure it's not contaminated, but it does cause some issues for the people at Town Hall. So I will work with the facilities person at Town Hall and Steve to see if it can stay a little longer.
That would be awesome. I think, you know, we hear a lot of folks that live in multifamily that, you know, are challenged by the recycling, and when, you know, on social media and whatnot, or even at Town Day and other ones, we said, oh, but at least here's an opportunity that, you know, you guys can participate for free, you know, both weekday and weekend opportunities. So highly support our opportunity to have that collection as long as possible.
And it has been successful, and we are getting a little bit of a dividend, so which is nice. We're also working on the metal container and what can go in that, because we just learned recently that they'll take batteries, like alkaline batteries, in the metal container, which it would be, if that's true, that would be awesome, because one, it would take it out of the trash, and two, people are very confused over batteries and where they could put them. So we'll get them at Town Hall. People are like, we don't know what to do with these, and they're just alkaline. So I'm working on a greater list of items that could go in the metal container, and it's surprising what they'll take. I mean, they'll take a lot. So that I'll have an update the next meeting.
Yeah, and feel free to send any of that stuff our way to go up on the social media as well.
Very good.
Cool. All right. John, anything else from town council discussions?
No, I think I've taken a lot of your time. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully I'll work with you for a long time. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, John. And Jen, anything from Gas and Light?
Yes, just one update. Every few years, WMGLD does strategic planning, and we did strategic planning this year in 2024. We now have a list of goals and initiatives that will then go into the performance goals for our senior leaders over at WMGLD in 2025, and we'll also start to flow through some of our agenda materials for 2025 and beyond. This strategic planning was different than last year's because it took a longer term view than we had before, with a 7 to 10 year outlook through just beyond 2030, which is a first major year that we have for our state requirement, which is to meet our goal of 50% of our energy coming from non-carbon emitting sources. We've already met that goal, just as an update, but that's the kind of the next big thing that is occurring for all of the munis. So I would like to distribute our list of goals and initiatives so you're all aware of what they are. They do tie in a lot to the topics you're interested in and the kind of things that you might be interested in for the town's decarbonization plans. So I'll share it, and we will continue to do work on this throughout the year to break it into tasks and to start to have more discrete discussions, but I can keep you updated as that moves forward.
Are those publicly?
They've been
share.
posted in our board book, but it's not like, it's like a page within a 40-page document, so I think
And
it's
if you
best if I,
accept them, I mean, if they go on our meeting materials as
Yeah.
a thing for distribution, that's okay?
oh, yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
great.
Yep, it's all been publicly shared in our board book.
All right, thank you for all of the updates. As mentioned earlier, we are going to have a budget discussion. I propose that we table that topic to next meeting. There isn't very much to say other than, sounds like we're excited about bats. So unless anyone is very upset about it, I would propose we table that topic. Cool. So I guess for next time, be thinking about whether there are any things we want to be doing this year that cost money in any reasonable way. In the past, our budget has gone towards things like snacks at events, materials for food rescue, potentially paying a speaker. So things like beautiful tablecloth. So if you have things that you think we would want to spend money on in the future, please think about that for next meeting. On that note, our next meeting looks like it would be on October the 10th at 7:30 p.m. Does that sound good to folks generally?
Tiana, I'll be out of the country. So I'll meet you, I'll see you at the next meeting.
Sounds good. Thank
John,
you.
you didn't write us.
Well, I'm doing the Rhine River cruise, and then my wife and I are gonna fly from there to Sicily. So it's the longest vacation we've ever taken, but thank you.
That sounds lovely. Also wanted to mention, as Mr. Mullen had mentioned, we may be able to move to hybrid meetings soon, or to being in person at town hall or the public safety building for our meetings. I'm curious whether folks would be excited about that. Would you like want to put on shoes and come to a meeting and be in person? Does that sound good to folks? Melissa says yes.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
clarify that. It doesn't have to be a televised meeting, so you don't have, it could be anywhere in the town.
My sense from Sherry is that the town has declared
I
that
will talk to the town administrator about that, because
I would be
that's a
delighted to know what you learn about that. It
I will let
sounds,
you know.
it has sounded to me like the
That's
intent
good.
is that
No, that's not gonna happen.
that the meetings still end up being,
Bottom line is, you should have a meeting, be able to meet with public people. This all came out of COVID, and so I'll handle that part of it.
sounds great. We will wait to hear from you on that.
Yeah.
And it sounds like we're gonna stop doing the, hey, were there any matters not anticipated? Feel free, as always, to send me agenda items for next meeting. And currently they would include anything about town meeting topic about solar on the Galvin, and potentially discussing the elimination of our subcommittees or some other way we would organize our work. So noodle on that a little bit for next meeting.
John, I know that the town meeting has been scheduled for Saturday, November something. Do you know when warrant articles deadline is, so we can have a sense if anything else is on the agenda that may be of interest to us?
And it's a week from now. So they schedule a week from now that all the articles had to be available, and then the town meeting would be scheduled. So, why do you aware of stuff that we might want to?
Last town meeting, we were surprised by some citizen petitions, so just curious if there could be more out there that, for us to be able to read prior to the town meeting, that's all.
As soon as we find out, I'll let you know, because we were surprised last year by a lot of citizen petitions as well. Yes.
Right. I think there was a notice that went out about it being scheduled and about the timing for warrants. But you think they need to be in? I thought they were only open to be proposed this week.
Yes, it was.
But then is the deadline that soon?
What I remember voting on, okay, was the fact that we voted on the schedule, which was 1 week, which is over, I think, by now. and then allowing people, whatever. So I think it's over, but I might be wrong.
Well, if anyone finds out otherwise,
October 4th, deadline. All petitions,
October 4th?
yes.
Okay, and then they will be posted right away? They're typically, no.
Probably. I don't know. That's the deadline to get them in.
Okay, the deadline to get them in is October 4th. So by our next meeting on October 10th, they will at least have been submitted, but they may not yet be publicly posted. Hopefully they would. Okay. Well, there you have it.
Before October 4th, if you guys need to do, I'll check and find out what's been posted.
Sounds great. All right, if there is nothing else, would anyone like to suggest?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Everyone just wants to hang out all night. We're having that much fun. All right, motion on the table is to adjourn. John,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Stefan,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
Lily,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you all for your participation and for your volunteerism and for hanging in for a very long meeting. Y'all are wonderful human beings, and we'll see you next time.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye now.